A new daily fantasy app for prop bets is here, and it's called Thrive Fantasy. Forget the old school way of DFS. Thrive Fantasy has streamlined the drafting process and eliminated the need to do unnecessary hours of research by using only top-tier athletes. That means no more salary cap. You just build your lineup around a list of prop bets. Here's how it works. For each contest, you choose 10 of the 20 prop bets, plus 2 ice picks that protect you from any late scratches or postponed games. Each unique prop has an over and under point value assigned to it, and you will be rewarded that value if the prop is correct. So for example, if Tom Brady throws for over or under 250 yards, the less likely the prop is to occur, the more points the choice will be worth. You build your team score around the amount of correct prop bets you select. It's easy to play, so just check out the Thrive Fantasy link in the description of this podcast and get in the game with Thrive Fantasy today. From the Gotham Podcast Studio, it's episode 63 of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Dexter Henry, Brian Fonseca here, and we have a guest. Longtime friend, collaborator through sports journalism, my man Ebenezer Samuel. He is the fitness director of Men's Health. Eb, what's up, man?
How's it going? It's been a while, man. It's been a long time.
I know. It's been a while. It's good to see you. We're trying to get you up here, but, life gets busy. We try to get everything we get done. Ebenezer has a long background in sports journalism. We'll get into that. Now the fitness director at Men's Health, as I said. He's done a lot of stuff in journalism and now with fitness. And if you can't see from the videos, he's a guy who's always in extremely good shape. Most other sports writers were jealous of Eb because they're like, he's in great shape all the time. So
and it hasn't improved. I'll tell you that much. I was at a Nets game last night, and yeah, it's pretty much.
And
the
it's
same
been
schedule.
disciplined. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. I'm cold.
Good. Everybody dealing good with this cold weather?
You say this is not actually cold, Mr. AccuWeather.
No, I mean it's.
We were
cold.
talking about this in the last episode where I was like, "Yo, it was 9 degrees," and you were like, "I was in Albany."
Yeah, it was like negative 20.
How many layers do you put on? You have a short sleeve shirt today. That's crazy. First of all,
today's
pretty cold too.
Today's not bad.
Today's not bad. Today's
It's
like
not
30.
terrible.
It's like 30 today.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was in Poughkeepsie. I was telling you, Ab, and I was right along the Hudson River, which was like frozen.
I hope it was work related and not by choice.
Yeah. No disrespect to Poughkeepsie. I'm not like going there just to go there.
Maris is okay.
But it was cool. I only had like 2 layers. I had 2 layers on, top and bottom, for that. That's fine.
Yeah.
So it was okay. But that I can take 30 degrees. 30. We can rock with 30.
30 is fine.
What was it on Tuesday? What was it like on? What was it?
9.
What was it Tuesday? 9.
Tuesday.
9.
I'm trying to.
It got to like 8 or 9.
Oh yeah,
here.
Tuesday. Tuesday was single digits.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember because I just got back from Albany.
Single digits
Tuesday.
and windy.
Tuesday. I accidentally took a 7-mile run. It was a.
Wait, what do you mean accidentally took a 7 mile run?
Yeah. How do you
accidentally do that?
It's supposed to be this. They call it destination run. It was with
Uh-huh.
a group.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a 4-mile run. Okay. I wound up separated from a little bit, like from everybody else. And I got lost. So I was supposed to turn on like Houston Street. I went all the way down to Canal Street, which isn't bad. And I turned back up. Then I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to go, so I just MapQuested it real quick or put it in Google Maps.
Were you MapQuesting while you were running?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I like this.
Which may be why I want the place we were supposed to go is this place called Higher Dose. It's like a infrared sauna place or something like that. Nobody told me that there were multiple locations of Higher Dose, so I ran down to the one on the east side and I had to run all the way back because they had my stuff. So it turned into.
Well, did you? You didn't have.
It was cold though.
But you didn't have to run.
No,
So you pushed yourself for extra workout.
No. Actually, I had to run because it was cold. I didn't want to be in the cold for any longer.
But that makes sense, right? Just keep the blood pumping and stay warm.
Yeah, and
right?
also, when I got to the one Higher Dose, they're like, you're in the wrong place, right? And I'm like, and they're like, you should take a train to where you're going. And I was like, I would, but the place I was running with has all my stuff.
So your MetroCard was in there. Everything was there.
Exactly, everything except my phone. So I really had no option. Could either run or hitchhike because I couldn't even pay for a cab.
Damn.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah, so I had.
So you had a great workout that day.
No, it was hell.
It could be both. Also,
it could be both. Well, Eb pushed himself to a place he didn't want to go to. He was planning to do 4 miles, and it's turned into like 7. And he didn't have his phone, so he's all stressed, and that's just a whole bunch of extra
it
stuff.
just reminded me of how much I hated doing cross country in high school.
Yeah,
that was awful.
Do you like running?
I hate running. Running is the least fun part of. I like running fast. 100 meters.
Right.
That's fun.
See,
I'm the same way.
I was saying the same thing
Like
before.
I love working out and love bodybuilding, but I do not like. I'll get my cardio in because I have to, but
Right,
I don't.
exactly.
I do not enjoy it at all.
I don't enjoy it.
I
At
don't.
all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And
I'd prefer to do 10 sprints or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're the same way.
It's running multiple miles and my whole body hurt when I was done with it. And I'm in pretty good shape. You know?
Right.
My whole body was just like, I don't like this, you know?
You're like, no.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to die. Your heart's going to jump out of your chest.
And it was cold though too.
And it was cold. Oh, my God.
What's it like? I told you we were going to talk maybe about doing some stuff with this. What's it like running in the cold for people who don't know? Because it's the air is so thinner and it's just
it's fun. Once you get into it, you're just
Yeah.
running. And because it was a Nike run, so they kind of they have us dressed really warm.
Good.
Right? But it's almost like a mental thing.
Yeah.
Like once you're kind of over it, once you get through like the first mile, it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then the 7th mile sucks.
Yeah.
You know? But
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. Because when you're thinking a lot, you're just going to stop yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're gonna run past where you have to go, which is what I did.
Oh man.
I'll say this though. I did another run. I want to say last April or whatever, and this was with like a track group
And with much better weather.
Yeah. It was weird because it catch-22 because it was better weather, but it was higher elevation, and like runners go up there because training in that thin air. There's a lot of kind of like benefit to.
Where was this?
This was in
Colorado?
Utah.
Oh, Utah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Park City, Utah.
Park City. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And running up there, I mean, it was weird because I do a lot of sprint work, and so this was like 400s. And I'm a decently fast guy on the track when I don't have to run 7 miles. And I looked at my time. We were actually working with like a track coach. His name is Danny Mackey. He's from Brooks Run Club. And I looked at my times. He's telling me my times, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm slow. I'm embarrassing myself, you know? And he's like, no, it's because you're so high elevation and you just got here. And so we were there 3 days. The first day, my times were awful. The third day, my times were a lot better because then suddenly, there's a lot of like science on white blood cell count and red blood cells, and when you're up there, there's a lot of benefit for you because you're training in thin air and you have to work in that. What racers do, not to get too into it, but
that's great.
Yeah.
What pro runners do is they'll train up there at elevation, and there's a specific timing to how they do it that I don't completely know all of, but they'll train at elevation, something like 2 weeks or whatever before a competition.
Yep.
And then when they come down and they spend a certain amount, there's like a certain time where it's almost like they're optimized from being up there to having adjusted back to sea level, where they can their endurance levels and just their strength levels and everything is maximized. So it's a training tactic, being at elevation, being in the cold.
I remember that this is also why like this Kenyan runners are so good, because of one of the things they run at a higher elevation, and also just culturally they run for like long distances to places they have to go. And I was watching something about that before too, with like runners who train at that elevation and come down, and I forgot like the times of how their splits were for their mile markers, but it was just so much better than anything they had done before. It's definitely amazing.
It's kind of like their version of sparring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the same. Like all training is kind of the same idea. Like if you put yourself, because you look at some of the like African runners, often by nature they're not training in extreme cold, but they're training in the opposite, extreme heat, right?
Yep.
Boxers do the same thing.
Yeah, arid areas, and so you train at that extreme, and then you wind up in the Olympics in Korea or whatever.
And competition is not so bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Your body's gonna react to like it's not.
Yeah, because
nothing.
they're already used to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always interesting. Let's get into your career a little bit, because you have a background in sports journalism. That's how I know you.
Yeah.
How did you get into sports journalism? I know you from when you were working at the Daily News, obviously. Talk to just, we always like to ask all the journalists we have here how they got into what they do. How'd you get into what you do?
Well, we met kind of probably at the, because I want to say we met way back. You were doing high school. I was thinking about this on the ride in. You were doing high schools. I was doing high schools. You know,
you, Ian Begley, that kind of group. We were all in there. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Back. Like, you know what he's looking at us? He's like, yo, they're old.
No, I'm not.
He's like, no, but you're right. That is how far back we're talking. Like 2007, 2008. That kind of time period.
Now you made us old.
Yeah, I know.
Now you throw the year out there, and I'm like, damn, where was I in 2000? You don't want to know.
No, I don't want to know. We don't want to know.
You're gonna edit this part out.
Yeah,
okay.
edit this part out.
But so we met at the beginning. I had I grew up around I agree. I was thinking about this on the way in too. I love superheroes more than anything, more than sports, more than anything.
I forgot about that.
When you think about the actual manifestations of, like, the reality is, if I want to try to fly, I'm probably gonna like jump off a building, and it's not gonna be pretty at the end. But if you think about the two manifestations of superheroes that we have in reality are, like, you know, super fitness, like bodybuilding types, you know, where you have that superhero physique, right? And then you have like the guys who are pulling off the most superheroic stuff we see, you know, aside from, you know, armed forces and stuff like that, are athletes, you know. That's like Odell Beckham catching like a one-handed pass, you know, or LeBron, like that's as close to flying as man is going to get, you know?
Right.
So I always loved that stuff. Obviously I played sports, but I wanted to be around, you know, our like kind of mythic superheroes. So I went to accounting. I actually have an accounting degree. Never used it because I wasn't really into it. I went to school for journalism, with the idea of kind of covering sports journalism. I went to Syracuse, so that's what I wanted to do. I lucked into an internship at the Daily News, under Leon Carter. He was a great sports editor there. Interned at ESPN, the magazine, then came back at the Daily News and just stuck with the high school stuff. And I mean, me and Dexter, like, very parallel paths in terms of like climb. You know, it's like you always start with high school sports.
See,
you go from high school to college,
and we've talked
about to pro.
We've talked about that on this podcast.
That's kind of how it's been.
Where that sort of used to be the progression, and now it's kind of like, you just graduate and you just got to figure it out, because there's not a design. Not that there was a design path, but there was an expectation that you would start at the high school level and then work your way up to the pros. Where now it's kind of like I'm already doing the pros, but in turn, I'm not getting compensated the way probably you guys were doing high school sports.
I'm not saying the way we were compensated was great.
I'm not saying that either.
But
however,
but what we will say, I don't want to speak for Ev on this, but we got the reps more in that,
you know the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I'm just saying, for Eb and I, and you know, I think even Ian said this when he was here too, was you got those reps. You got to be out there. You got to learn how to craft stories.
Kevin said this also. Whether
it was on the print side or, you know, I did both print and video, so it didn't really matter. You got the reps. You got to be out there. You got to learn how to cultivate your sources. You got to work with other great people and make good relationships, and those stuff that mattered. What do you think about? Because Brian always asks this. I know Brian's curious, so I know he's going to ask this question. Like, what do you think about that for the younger generation of journalists coming up right now in sports?
Yeah, because now it's mostly blogs. And like we were talking about before off air, a lot of aggregator sites that they want, instead of allowing you to do these stories that you probably, you're sourcing multiple people and, they're really thought out in longer pieces. They want you to just aggregate for X amount of days a week and get this stipend and then here. Yeah,
the business has overall gotten harder, and there's a lot like that progression. Like, we were probably Dexter, me, Ian, that whole generation, if you will, of sports journalists was like kind of lucky in that there was kind of a progression in place. Even with that progression, though, I mean, it still boiled down to, I went to J school, but it still boiled down to, when you got out in the field, figure out how to do it,
Yeah.
And everybody kind of had to figure out how to, we were figuring out how to get stories, how to develop sources, how to do all that stuff, and we were doing it under the umbrella of the New York Daily News, or
Post when I was there.
Exactly, the Post. We were doing it under those umbrellas, and those umbrellas are increasingly not there because they're hiring fewer people. It's still the one thing I think it boils down to, and you said it a little. And this is kind of like as I kind of reflect on my career. Not that I'm old, okay, but as I reflect on my career, I think you said it just now. You have to figure it out, and it still boils down to whatever discipline it is. You have to kind of figure it out. It's kind of cool for you guys in that you can kind of chart your own path a little bit. Like when I was coming up, it's like when I was interning.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote like a 2-page feature on Lance Stevenson that was like the sports editors loved. On the Sunday paper. Again, I was an intern. Apparently, that, like, as I understand it, that didn't happen very much at that time. But I was still locked into this progression. It was like you're still gonna do, even though I wrote a brilliant thing on Lance Stevenson, not to talk myself up too much, but I was still locked into this progression, I remember I was a fantasy football columnist, I think maybe like Like, I was still doing GA stuff, had just gotten done high school stuff, and they were like, we need a fantasy football columnist. He's really good with numbers and fantasy. Let's make him the fantasy football columnist.
Right.
Okay. It's kind of like, it's a very low tier, if you will, column that I was writing. It wasn't exactly super high profile. It was a column. Okay. There were older journalists there who were very, very unhappy that it's like, why does he have a column and I don't? You know? So you
Really?
were locked in.
I'm not.
That doesn't surprise. I know that.
Yeah, I said
surprise
it. I said it, and then I was like, I shouldn't be surprised at it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? And I never knew that at the time, but I shouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised at it. And for full disclosure, like I used to freelance and do video for the Daily News, so I also know people that Eb knows in there too. So like, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I still see some of that now because, like, for example, some people that you will call bloggers or whatever, just because they're not with like newspaper websites,
Right.
We get on occasion some level of freedom that newspapers probably don't get because, and I know this for also because I also freelance for a newspaper, because you have a certain amount of space that you're limited to, whether it's 500 words, 750, 1,000, whatever it is, and then with a blog, you can incorporate tweets. You could use social media in that way. So yeah, there's also that element as well.
Yeah, go back to what you were saying. Yeah,
But my whole thing is like, you know, so it was like, again, it was kind of like I was breaking the progression a little bit, so people were like not cool with it, you know, and so it was gonna always be limiting. And then even like when my last couple of years at the news, my last 2 years I was doing like social issues columns, and that was like a kind of
which
I
loved.
Yeah,
We always talked a lot about that. We love that.
yeah. But I was doing that, right? And there were people who were like, this is nonsense, you know what I mean? Because and again, it's because they felt I kind of skipped
some steps,
right? So you don't have to. Your generation doesn't have that built-in. Like, the thing is, there are two ways to rise within the progression, right? It's either because, in my case, I'd like to think it was because I was good, so that's why I was kind of skipping steps, you know. But then there's also like, you can be mediocre, okay, and because it's your turn, you're gonna be the Giants beat writer or the you know.
Well, we ain't trying to be mediocre here.
But now, like, the way it works for you guys, it's kind of you don't have that built-in progression, but there are points where, and it's still challenging. It's incredibly challenging, especially because the pay has come down a lot.
Yeah, which is crazy because everything else goes up all the time. Like, we have inflation, but we have deflation within journalism.
Yes,
it's awful. But the one thing is, like, let's say you break, there are more avenues now, even though it's tricky because people are going to steal your stuff, you know, or you know what I mean, you're going to break news and somebody, you know.
Oh, that's already happened.
People not giving you credit.
That's already happened to
me. But you do have, there are more potential, because you can put content out by yourself, right? There are more potential avenues for you, and it's hard still. So I'm not deflating that at all. But if you break like Jason Kidd got fired, you know, and you break Jason Kidd got fired and the Nets hired this person, and the Nets are, if you're on top of that for like 6 months, like somebody at like ESPN or something is gonna see, you know, and so like you have to hustle more, and there's a lot less reward in the initial, but there's potential, like there's like you can make a name for yourself without needing one of these brands now, because you have these avenues.
Right, and the progression in those avenues sort of led us starting this. You know what I mean? Like, it sort of brought us here doing the podcast. Now we're in our 63rd episode because it's another avenue. Yeah. So that's really what it is just trying to get those other avenues. And
I think Ebenezer brilliantly pointed out what is the difference in journalism 10, 12 years ago to now, and why, although it's hard, there still are good opportunities for people to do things. So you don't need the umbrella of a company.
You don't, and you know, I do everything. Literally, like, I was at an NBA game yesterday. Tonight I'll be at a fight for boxing,
which is good.
Tomorrow,
and I encourage him to do that.
You know what I mean? Like, I do literally pretty much everything.
You have to.
I've even done rugby.
Like, look at and not to go too far, not to veer too far, I guess. But look at Sean King. You know, Sean King is a guy who he went he was kind of doing his own. I don't want to, you know, minimize it, but doing like his own thing as opposed to like under the umbrella of somebody. And the Daily News saw that. You know, this was going back like 4 or 5 years, right? The Daily News saw that, saw like its value, and gave the man like a high profile like column position, you know. So that's what I mean. You can like build your own thing, and it's harder. The cool thing is you're building, like, when me and Dexter are coming up, like Dexter was building the Post brand when he was doing videos. Okay, I was building kind of my brand, but more, especially because I was a team guy too. I was building the Daily News brand.
Yeah.
You know, you're building Brian Fonseca's brand through and through. You know, and wherever you go, like if you land at ESPN or Sports Illustrated or the New York Times, right? They're bringing on Brian Fonseca's brand, and you're continuing to build your brand, and they're just legitimizing it and paying you more money. You know?
There you go.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
And that's what you want. I feel like even in the places you get, we kind of get to where Eb is right now, you still are always building your brand. At least I still look at it like that way. Whether he's at Men's Health and me at AccuWeather, I'm still always looking for ways that you can still build your brand.
Yeah, and you also have your own company independently.
Yeah, and still do that, try to build my brand so we can have stuff like this.
Yeah.
So you had the Daily News, you talked about the experience that you had, and then you told me when you were doing those social issue columns, and I remember you doing that, and we talk about a lot of the topics you were doing. And I'll say this because I felt, and I think I told you this personally, I thought it was important that they had somebody who was a minority.
Yeah.
They're doing it. And I thought that was great. And then you transitioned to Men's Health. Now you got out of Daily News before all the layoffs came, and we've had a couple of we've had Christy Ackert up here. We had Kevin Armstrong talk about it too.
Ian.
Yeah. So Ian was out. Ian was out way before. He was out way before.
Well, no, but we had him up here because he, he was there also. I think because were there 2 separate rounds of Daily News layoffs? Maybe more.
Yeah, I think so.
Because we had him after one, but before the big one last year.
Oh yeah, but that's but right. You got out. You decided to go to Men's Health, which is it's interesting because both of us have done 2 things. We went to 2 things that were very I don't want to say different because it's funny because both of us have worked in fitness too. Yeah. Which is also an interesting parallel. But we went for things that were completely different from the sports journalism we were doing. Now you're at Men's Health, and I went to AccuWeather. What made you do that transition to Men's Health? Because it seemed like when you told me, I was like, I was like, yo, that's you. This is great. I was like, this is you.
And then after that, what's it like seeing him at AccuWeather now? Of all places, I want to know that part of it.
I'm
gonna start asking.
Nobody's said anything about this. I'm actually intrigued to hear that.
I'll actually do the AccuWeather because so I don't watch much TV anymore. But so I see your stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
More, and I'm always seeing him like it's like windy and crazy and stuff like that.
And the drones, you see the drone shots, yo.
Yeah. But every time I see him, I'm like, he's doing. First of all, I'm proud because I knew him. Like I knew he always wanted to do TV stuff. And News 12 is cool, but obviously like AccuWeather is bigger.
It's a bigger platform.
Yeah. I think it's cool because he's doing. I've kind of like I feel like I've personally I'm doing cool stuff, but he's doing like real freaking journalism. You know, the one thing when you go to a game, when you cover a sports game, okay. I mean, you have like. Okay. Can I get real?
This is the AHTT podcast. You gotta get real as it is.
Okay, so for real, okay. Like a Knick game, okay, is like 2 hours of like standing around, okay. And then you go sit in a nice little press box. You watch a game. They feed you good food, even though it's completely unhealthy. That's another story for later.
We're gonna get to that.
Well, we have to.
Yeah.
And you have and then you go down to the locker room for a half hour, and you kind of work hard, you know, because you got to get good stuff in the pack and stuff like that. And then you go up and you transcribe real quick, and it's midnight, and so you have to work hard, okay. And so you work hard for 50 minutes. Like, you work really freaking hard for 50 minutes, okay? It's like a lot of mouse wheels turning in the head and stuff like that, okay? Yeah. This man works hard. Like, he's got – I just imagine, like, you know, he's running to flights and stuff like that. He's
this is true, though.
He gets off in, like, you know, a typhoon or something like that. You know, I see him like he is doing – like, what he's doing is hard work, you know? But it's hard work for, like – not like 50 minutes, like a game where the players are in front of you, you go get them. But he has to go pound the pavement journalism to find people who will talk to him, to give him good quotes. Like, he's doing like the nuts and bolts of what you go to J school for. Yeah. So that's like awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And the end product is like 5 minutes on the air or 30 seconds on the air,
sometimes
whatever it is.
90 seconds. Sometimes
exactly.
That, yep.
Like small, but the work that goes into it, knowing the work that goes into it, I mean, he is like that is hard work, and so that's like props.
I
you
respect.
know?
I respect
weather,
that.
and weather,
and
is
sometimes
more important.
inclement. Well, I don't want to say that because I still love sports, and I will never say that. I think any storytelling that people do is extremely important, right?
Right,
Like,
but I think you know what I mean in terms.
To be clear,
Well,
I'm not disparaging what.
No, I know what
goes
you're
on.
saying. That weather probably impacts lives more, right? Like,
Right.
And to some degree,
hurricanes,
that
which
is
you've
right.
which you've done already.
Right. And it does. You know, I know at AccuWeather they like to kind of promote the fact that they're saving lives with hurricanes, but information does help save lives. There's no doubt about that. The one thing Ebenezer said that I think people don't recognize and that he brought up is that when I do this stuff, and a lot of it is shooting and editing my own stuff, I'm out. Yeah, I actually do run for planes.
Okay. Oh.
I ran through Atlanta's airport with like my gear on my back, which I still don't know how I did it. So I was kind of happy because I'm like, I'm still in like pretty good shape. That showed me that.
And no one stopped you.
Nah, I was moving, man.
Okay.
And this is somebody who tore his Achilles 6 years ago. I'm still like, I'm doing all right. But you're doing that work, and you're turning this around, and you get in these places. Sometimes it's go time, and you're going for 12, 13, 14, sometimes 16 hours. And it's tough, but you're pumping out content and making it work. They're long days, but I like it. And I'm got some stuff that we're trying to work on and bringing sports and other things in with weather, which should be coming soon. We'll be able to talk more about that. But yeah,
Can't wait.
I agree with that. But I also have respect for what you're doing in men's health. On the same side, maybe because we both, while doing sports journalism, had a passion for bodybuilding. We all talked about that too. So when you got it, you told me you were going there. I was like, yo, this is dope. This is a good fit for you. And it seems like, how long have you been in now? 3 years?
A little over 2 now.
A little over 2 years.
Yeah.
And you're doing good stuff. And you're doing video content too, which is they do a fantastic job there. They do a great job with the video stuff there. I know you like it. What was it like making that transition? Because it was a transition.
Yeah, the transition, like, again, you go back to that superhero thing. So half of the superheroes is the crazy athlete stuff, and then the other half is the superhero body,
super
right?
muscles and things like that. Yeah,
exactly. So it was kind of like again, like, so you see kind of where there were a couple things going on. I love the Daily News, and like I still kind of consider that like my family, quote unquote.
Okay.
But you kind of like I think in this business, you need to think ahead and evolve, or else the layoffs come and you're gone.
So you sort of saw it coming.
Yeah, and just saw like I also saw like where I was. There was only so much like upward,
mobility that you could have.
Yeah, and the other thing is, again, you look at these sports journalists, and I remember I can't remember the guy's name, but I was in LA at one point, and I was talking to this guy who covered the Orlando Magic, right? And he was young, and he had covered the Orlando Magic, and he had stepped away. And I remember I was like probably like 26 at the time, and he had gotten like an editing job at ESPN. And I was like, dude, why'd you leave covering the Orlando Magic? That had to be awesome, right? And why would you want to like be editing? And he's like, because at some point, do you really want to be like 65 and listening to some player talk about, like
coming
not
up
getting
short.
a catch? Yeah, he's like, and I remember like having this image of like, I don't want to really be 60 and like balding, and I don't want to do what I'm doing when I'm 30, isn't like, I want to keep advancing, right? And so the next step was going to be, you see the newspaper situation. I see that, I've covered Super Bowls, I've covered sports and stuff like that, and I will always love it, and I do love it. But like, what's next? So I need to think about what's next. There was this opportunity at Men's Health. Again, I always love fitness. To me, it's like the other half of like the superhero thing. And so it was like, you know what? I'm training anyway. I love doing that. It was actually a fitness editor spot, not fitness director. But it was like, let me kind of like jump into that world and see what I can do. When I got the job, it's crazy. The interview for that job, by the way, it was like an interview, but it was also the first time I met the EIC who eventually hired me. He was like, come to a CrossFit workout. And I was instantly like right there. I was like,
in the interview?
Well, no, the initial, I met him. It was like kind of the pre-interview or whatever. It was I met him. He was like, me at a CrossFit workout. So we did a
That's
CrossFit
dope.
workout, and then we went around the corner and had eggs. And I was like, this is so much more. This
world?
is so much more natural to me,
Right.
Than
Yeah.
you know. The other thing too is like for me, it was all like when I went into the locker room to the Giants, right? Obviously, I'm looking for good stories. That's my job. But to me, it's like I had so much fun like talking to these guys. Like I wanted to train with the like sports journalists go in, and if that's what, and there's nothing wrong with this, but they're looking for like a story from those guys, you know, and they want to talk about the X's and O's, right? I wanted to talk about Justin Tuck, what's your chest workout? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was always a little bit different from those guys. I'm very big on, especially the more I've got, the older I've gotten, like embrace your differences. And so it was more natural it was always more natural for me to talk to them about fitness than talk to them about, you know, and then have them spit out some answer about, you know, why you didn't catch that pass last week.
I found myself doing the same thing.
You found something common that you can relate to those guys on, and you'd be able to talk to them about it, which I always find interesting that more journalists, at least from my perception in our time covering it, didn't do.
Yeah.
Because I found it's funny you mentioned Justin Tuck.
Yeah.
I remember myself and Ohm. Whenever we would go in, we talked to Justin about hip hop all the time. Or Chris Canny was like a big R&B guy, something with music. Or I talked to Brandon Jacobs, loved boxing.
Yeah.
So there's something you would find with the athletes to connect with, and then you might get something else out of them. You still had to do your job, obviously, but that's how you connected.
Yeah. And I think some of it, again, it's tricky because you don't. I feel like some of it is like just how you relate to, you know, and it's also like I think like sometimes if you're going into that locker room every day, like there were days where like you just want to stick your tape recorder in, get something, and get out because this job is a grind.
Yes.
You know, so I think some people don't do it because it's like, you know, again, you can be mediocre, or you used to be able to be mediocre in this business and climb the ladder anyway because of just a chain of stuff.
Now you still could because of social media.
Which one? Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean,
because you can make the appearance that you're not as mediocre
we've talked about
as
that.
you actually
like
are.
you could just make it appear like you're working super, super, super hard and doing X and whatever.
But I think now you need something to get noticed because there is so much saturation.
Oh, at the end of the day, somebody's gonna find you out if you suck.
Yeah,
like it'll take time. You might get to a point, but still.
Well, but you also like the people who are successful are the one like. But there are so like in sports there's like analysis, there's like breaking news, there's like, you know, and you have to like to get noticed now you have to awesomely excel because ESPN wants the guy who can like, you know, awesomely excel at like analysis, you know, or awesomely excel at breaking news, or awesomely excel at writing like a beautiful story, and like you have to show one of those capacities. If you don't show any of those capacities, I think you just continue being beat writer X at paper Y.
The Sports Walk is back. Watch Season 2 of Backpack Broadcasting's original web series that brings you the opinions of real sports fans. The entire first season and current season are available now on the Sports Walk YouTube channel and Facebook page. Check out the 2017 NYC WebFest official selection and see what other sports fans have to say on the hottest issues in sports today. It's easy. Just take the Sports Walk.
Where do you in terms of journalism for fitness, where do you see fitness journalism in terms of like its viewership and also readership and consumption? Where do you see it going? Because it seems like Men's Health has done a lot and pushing with like video now, and you're doing like stuff with it. So like, where do you see fitness journalism going?
Fitness journalism is tricky because this was the part that I had to adjust to the most when I got over there, because I come from finding stories, writing stories, finding great stories, you know. Fitness journalism is more about you want to find that, but what people want to know, people don't necessarily want to read like my brilliant 1,500 word opus on like this amazing gym out in Austin, you know. What they want from, like, especially because now stories are shorter and stuff like that, what people want from me and what is they want to know, how do I get fit, skinny,
they want to see your workouts.
And they want that. So the adjustment I've had to make is being like trading more storytelling sometimes for instruction, you know, and really good instruction, and for crafting. The cool thing So now I'm also like I'm CSCS, which is Certified Strength and Conditioning Coach. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's like so. I mean, I could always design programs, but now I can design programs with a strong certification behind me. But so a lot of what we do now, and a lot of where the industry is going, is finding, because again, it's not hard to. And this is like another conversation, but it rankles me a lot, so I'll kind of go there a little bit. There are a lot, like 95% of the trainers, like you go into a gym and some trainer walks up to you and he's like, and they just want to make you sweat. You know what I mean?
I think I know where this is going.
It's not hard.
I used to do this, so I know where this is going
It's
too.
not hard to make somebody sweat. You
Right,
know? It's
right.
not hard to make them throw up. Here, Dexter, do like 100 burpees right now. We're all gonna watch. You're gonna throw up. Okay.
Yep, I will.
But like that's it. And what we're trying to do, and what fitness journalism is trying to do, is deliver interesting workouts. Because again, like it's not 100 push-ups. Go run 10. I go run 7 miles. I'm dead after it. I feel like throwing up. And I got a good workout. Okay, I probably lost a couple pounds, right? But it's also boring. Okay, and it was cold out. But
Right.
Ebony's like, I'm never doing that again.
But the objective now, the goal is to create, and this is what people want, I believe. They want smart fitness, okay, safe fitness, and fun fitness. And again, like the body can move a finite amount of ways. You want to work your chest. Essentially, you're going to do some variation of a push-up. You want to work your legs, you're going to do some variation of a squat or a deadlift, whatever it is. The body can move in a finite amount of ways, but we can program things. And smart, what we're tasked with doing right now is finding smart trainers, or just myself putting together smart programs that make that very basic thing, here, do 100 squats for your legs, a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, a lot more challenging, and a lot more accessible, because increasingly people aren't ready to do 100 squats because we sit all day, and so our bodies aren't. Again, you look at like the guys who are covering the Giants. Again, no disrespect to them, I love them all, but most of them probably couldn't really do 100 squats.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not sure most of them can do 10.
Right.
Right. There's no shade to anybody here, too.
Do you have good at-home workouts? And the reason I ask this is because a lot of people are busy. They probably can't get to a gym. Like for me, I struggle sometimes having to get to a gym, so I just do what I got to do at home, and I just keep it really simple. But do you have like good, maybe even elaborate at-home workouts in Men's Health that you guys like have? Well,
what's interesting, because again, like, and we've done like a lot of fitness, and that's another adjustment to me, because so I come from a very like background. Like I will work hard. Like I will eat perfect. Go into the gym and. I'll spend 2 hours, however long I need. I'll do my soft tissue work. I'll do my speed work. I'll do my lift. And like when I work out, I'm not playing.
Right.
But and so when I got to Men's Health, my assumption was, okay, I'm gonna build programs like that. Okay, but you can't do that, because like you said, like you work, and you go, you have to cover a game. The last thing you want to do, and I'm not going like from a reader, you have to make, just like you guys have to make your sports stories interesting, because like nobody cares about the Nets. Sorry,
right?
But so you have
they care a little bit more this year, but
But so you have to find something, what I mean, that makes it interesting. So I have to do the same thing, and I can't program. If I give somebody who goes on the web and looks at like my 2-hour program for like a jack chest, okay, is going to be like, yeah, but I'm not spending 2 hours in the gym. So what we found, or what I had to adjust to, is like a lot more home workouts, because those are more accessible and they're more friendly, So we do a lot of home workouts, and we do a lot of kind of like more, like I basically had to take what I do and be willing to dial it down, And so I've had to learn a lot about that. But we actually just put together a program, like a video program, on like DVD and stuff like that. It's like a bench, just dumbbells, and it's a good workout. But it's something that like in theory people can do at home with minimal equipment. Half hour a day, 5 days a week.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I saw that, and I told you to come in a couple weeks ago. I'm on Instagram. I'm scrolling through it. I'm like, Ebenezer's got a workout DVD. I was like, I was happy. I was thrilled. I told you I'm gonna buy it.
I might too.
How did that come about, and was that different from you? Because a lot of stuff you had done was writing.
Yeah.
This is video where you're actually really giving direction to people, right? So how was that a challenge for you? Did you enjoy the process? Like, how'd that go?
And is it doing well?
It was I don't think I'm allowed to tell that one part.
That's fine.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. So that one I'm gonna
We'll say yes. We'll say yes.
I do think from the level of from what I don't think I can give out numbers, but it does seem like it's doing pretty.
But it's
well.
garnered some interest.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely garnered a lot more. I was afraid
I could see how you could. No, what I'm gonna say is, I could see how you putting that out. You'd be nervous about it, almost like somebody putting out their first album.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
That's
you know
exactly.
It's
that's
vulnerable.
exactly what it felt like.
And I wanted.
Vulnerable is a good word.
And I thought that's what I thought about when I saw it. Like I was happy for you, but when I saw it, I'm like, that has to be vulnerable because we've talked about workout and diets and stuff like this, and you wrote about it. But it's really different when your face is to it.
Exactly.
And you're putting that out.
Well,
and like how I'm really intrigued as how that was for you once it's like we're working on this and now this is coming out.
And not for nothing, also your torso is out there shirtless.
Right.
That's a little nerve wracking. So the cool thing,
you would think that you'd be the most confident man in this room too.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't.
But it's different from being in the gym and then knowing that everybody can see it, right?
I mean,
I can see the difference.
But you know what? Some people might take that another way and be like, "Yo, I can't wait to put this out there."
But you know,
I mean, it's like both at the same time. Right. It's like you can't wait, and then you're like.
Well, I'm still a little nervous.
And you're like, them trolls, I don't know about that.
I'll say social media is a dangerous place.
Yes. I'll say this. One of the things, so that whole project materializing is like, I think I was like about a year and a half in when we started working on that. But a couple things, like the cool thing about Men's Health, and again, we were talking about brand Brian versus like brand Daily News, is like I gradually have converted from looking at things as like brand Daily News or brand Men's Health to it's as much about brand Eb. And so kind of like when I got to Men's Health, you kind of read the terrain, right? And you could see like in that there was a lot of opportunity for like me to kind of build my own brand within fitness when I got there, with Instagram and with the way they do video and stuff like that. Like obviously like I came from newspaper and we did a little bit of video here and there. I did a little bit of TV, very like minimal, and print was always your first priority. But because of where the industry has gone media wise and suddenly being with this larger like national brand that has like more like kind of like a 360 approach to content, it became not just about like I literally thought when I got the job that I was going to edit fitness, and but it was also like and I was kind of hoping that I get to do a couple other little things, but it's evolved into again 360 approach to content. And so by the time I did that video I had been designing programs and putting them out there on Instagram and I voice over a lot of my workouts on Instagram. I had done we would film like shorter workouts or whatever that were for Instagram or for the site. Like, so I'd done video work by then. So it was kind of like, it was cool and it was like a career accomplishment a little bit because it's kind of like, so you remember, Steve Overmeyer?
Yeah, I know Steve, yeah.
Steve Overmeyer taught me like everything I knew about like he would have me on like WLNY Sports Update to talk about stuff. And he was like, just pretend there's nobody in the room, like just basic stuff, pretend there's nobody in the room. You're just talking. And so that got me like, so by the time like, the filming process for the DVD was kind of whirlwind, and then you have to put together a program, which is hard because you have to put it together within these constraints. It's like a half-hour a day, 5 days a week, because we can sell that, all dumbbells, which again, like my stuff is a lot more varied than that. Okay. All dumbbells and a bench, because again, we can sell that, bring it down from, I can bench 225 pounds to the person who might not be able to do a push-up, because that's who is really consuming this, So I had to obviously program all that pretty quickly, get that together, rehearse. In between doing, again, it's the same hustle that you have to put in, the same hustle that Dexter has to put in like a very different form, and kind of rehearse in between like editing for the magazine and kind of working on the website and putting out regular other content. And so and then it comes together in the space of like 4 or 5 days. You film the whole thing and then it's done. And so and then when the product comes, it's kind of cool. I still haven't watched it though because I'm like afraid to see it.
It's weird. No, it's always weird. It's when you work on a long project. It's very weird watching this stuff.
I mean, do you want to listen to your first album back? You know what I'm
saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
it's weird. It's
like do you? I mean, other than editing, do you go back and listen to old podcast episodes? You probably don't.
No, I have not.
Because I don't.
Yeah.
I'm also very much of a person that once I've done something,
once I leave the room, I leave that room.
If I have the control over it, like when I edit or do something personally, once I've really accepted that it's done, and I'm really finished with it. It's done. It's out. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
I don't think about it. I may look back at a piece of something if like
me too.
There's something that I'm like. I'm getting inspiration for something else, and I'm like, maybe next time I want to push this way. So I may look back at, like, let's say in your thing, in terms of your video. What's the name of your video? Because we want people to know. What's the name of it? Can we say the name of it?
Yes.
What's the name?
The New Rules of Muscle.
The New Rules of Muscle. So
okay.
if you're looking for some good workouts, you want to do some workout at home, you got a bench and some dumbbells, you want some new rules of workouts.
I need some new equipment.
I'm sure if you were looking at a specific technique, maybe you showed somebody in this video or something to do, you might say, maybe the way I delivered it, I might want to go back and tweak that. But I never look back at it to look back at the whole piece of art and just immerse myself in it. It's maybe just one thing or two, out of it. And even stuff like this stuff Brian and I've done, and I've looked back and been like, okay, maybe next time we could hit this better. But I just let it go.
The other thing is I feel like we're all kind of in the great race for producing content, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you have to produce so much content, you don't always get to. I mean, I don't.
You don't have the time to always do that.
Exactly.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true. Yeah.
it's
you literally don't have that time.
It's like watching 5 30-minute videos is 2.5 hours of my life.
Right.
which I already live. Which I already lived. So it's kind of like and so it's kind of like more on to the next project. Although every so often I look at the box and it's like, it's like when you look at the box, it's like, I freaking did that. That's pretty freaking cool. Exactly.
Yeah. And you put yourself.
Apologize for the language.
No, that's fine. You put yourself out there. And that's kind of the thing. Well, we have to ask you because we all worked in sports journalism. Okay?
Yes.
You and I have spoken about this off before. I do it a lot now. I'm traveling. Yeah. It's hard to eat well. Yeah. And then when we worked in sports journalism context, we're going to games, like you said. Bruh. You're getting food that's most times not even remotely good and healthy for you.
You want me to tell you what Barclays Center had a couple times recently?
Tell him what he had.
The Nashville, they called it Nashville hot fried chicken.
Oh no, I remember the mac and cheese.
Southern mac and cheese.
I remember the mac and cheese in Barclays Center. Because I always looked at it and it always looked really good in like that Southern way.
Did you eat it?
No.
See, because he's disciplined.
I stay away from that too. You could ask Gerard.
Yeah.
But I always looked at it and I was like, if it was a cheat day, I would do it. Because it looked good. Is it as good as it looks? I just want to know.
I don't know.
You didn't have it.
That's tepid.
No, the chicken was pretty good once. I did try the chicken before. How often do you have cheat days?
I do a full cheat day today's Saturday, so I'll do like a full cheat day once a week.
What are you eating on a full cheat day?
On a full cheat day, I respect. So I don't eat like normal humans. Okay, I think breakfast, lunch, and dinner are nonsense.
Are you your 6 meal a day person? Small portions, small meals.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you're really supposed to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in terms of bodybuilding, that's how you're supposed to eat.
In terms of bodybuilding, yeah. Some of us don't have the time to eat 6
meals. So no disrespect, but that's what the normal humans do, the 3 meals a day, and that's really how you're supposed to eat. But that's a whole other thing.
But I do the 6 meal a day. So I respect on cheat days. I respect my intervals. I respect and so all those meals every day have like obviously a high quantity of protein, right? Yeah. Carbs are fluctuate based on the workouts and what else is going on, and there's also like water, like a lot of water. Okay. And then there's a lot of greens. So that's like my normal. I mean, that's a really, really rough sketch in my normal diet. There's a lot more like nuance to it. But on cheat days, I strip away the nuance. Okay. I mean, I respect the fact that I have to eat every 2.5 hours. I respect the fact that I'm going to have protein. Okay. Every meal, and I respect the liquid intake. But if I want something else, so like a normal meal for me might be like on a normal day, like my meal 5 maybe like 6 ounces of salmon and like a cup of asparagus. on a cheat day, I may have like the 6 ounces of salmon and like a piece of cheesecake, you know?
Okay.
And so I let that happen in all the meals. So then some of the meal, like I have a 6 ounce of chicken and usually like a sweet potato meal on most days. That 6 ounces of chicken and sweet potato may become like a protein shake and, 5 Oreos.
And this is mostly meal prep?
No, I don't. I prep a lot less. Then I like my wife is really good about like actually knowing how to cook because I don't. So I don't meal prep per se, but I have all the meals made and then I just weigh it out when I have to eat it.
And I've seen Ebenezer at Giants. That's where I saw him a lot at one point. At Giants, he had his stuff weighed out. He's got his meat, he's got his veggies in his Tupperware, and he would heat it up, and he would not go eat the rest of the crap that most other people were bringing into the media room.
They're probably grilling the hell out of you.
No.
The media people. Like everyone else in the
honestly, man, people were just so much munching on other stuff. I don't think they paid in Ebenezer any mind. It's like you noticed it, but like you remember when they used to bring a pizza at the Giants every Wednesday, Thursday? They bring it to Papa John's, and everybody just and sometimes
Papa John's pizza.
And I felt bad because one time I'd be hungry and Ebenezer just walked by looking at me like, like Dex, you know better. First of all, it was all fun, but we're just joking. But yeah. But what would you recommend for people like us that when we did it on? Because you did it at a high level and you were still getting into workouts. Yeah. How are you able to balance it, like with eating healthy on the road and avoiding the media food traps that are there?
It's hard. It's hard because some place the media food traps are tough because some places are better. Like you've been to Philly, right? Pretty sure
I have.
I'm pretty sure like Lincoln Financial. Mm-hmm. I don't think anything there is healthy. I don't. It's been a while.
Oh no, I actually have not been to Lincoln Financial yet. I haven't been in there for a game. No, I have not.
It was bad. Like I remember, it would be like straight bad. It would be like hot dogs and.
But I will be there next month, doing something with the NHL Winter Classic games, which is going to be at Lincoln Financial.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'll talk to you a little more about that. I'm doing something with that, so I will be there. So you got to tell me how to avoid the food traps.
The food traps in like the food traps in media. Or in the media centers are hard because they only give you what they give you, you know? Mm-hmm. I think in general, most people, like, you kind of know what's good for you and what's not. You know what I mean? It's just a question of being able to say no to, like media meals are usually, like, they'll serve, like, some chicken. It'll probably be fried, right? Yeah. But then... so like that's not great for you, and they'll serve you like some kind of dessert, and you'll know that's not great for you, right?
I stay away from desserts. The cocaine brownies are good though.
The one thing they always have is bottled water, so that's good.
True.
Yeah.
What
I would generally tell people to do is try to bring like one, especially when you're on the road, right? Try to bring like one kind of like shake or whatever. It doesn't have to be like a protein shake, but like a shake or like one of those Kellogg shakes or just something that is relatively healthy, and kind of consume that first because you're going to be at the game for like 4, 5, 6 hours, right? Yeah. Consume that first because then that'll fill you up a little bit and then you'll have less of the other stuff, Then the other thing is portion control too, and timing, like kind of try to preset the times that you're gonna eat. It takes discipline, period, right? But try to because at media games they're gonna give you a meal, like football games I can speak to. They're gonna give you a meal before the game. They're gonna give you something at halftime. They're gonna give you something after the game, right? But that's really like, I mean, you've been there for 4 hours. Do you really need 3 meals in a day? Most people have 3 meals on a regular day, right? So it's like try to like say I'll eat when I get there. And I'll eat when I leave, or I'll eat at halftime. Pick one time to eat, and just because the other parts are the food traps, and they're also like when you look at it in the grand scheme of your day, they're not really logical, So, so pick like one meal and have one meal there.
That's good advice. Yeah, that's really good.
The best stuff Barclays Center has is the smoked brisket. You should try that.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I'm trying to get better on the road, and you bring up something good even for myself, like bringing more shakes for myself on the road and staying disciplined. Because even like I said, sometimes I'm working 12, 14-hour days. Sometimes I'm not eating as consistently as I should be.
Same.
So where I'd like to get back to my eating 6 times a day, smaller portions, better portion control, and doing that because I know it's just better for me. And finding the time to work out is hard, but I know it can be done. You just have to have discipline with it.
You actually, yeah, and I feel like airports have gotten more. So when we would do airports I feel like airports have gotten more friendly in recent years in terms of.
I agree with that.
I noticed
more healthy options.
Yeah,
I agree with that. There are like there's still a lot of it is mostly your general fast food, but I found that, or I can get stuff where I can get a salad if I need to, or you know I can get something to get my protein and my greens at the same time. Yeah, and I'll be fine with that. We know you got to run. Real quick, wanted to touch on some stuff with you because you're a big tech guy, video game guy too. Yeah, I know. Let me start with superhero stuff first. How have you been feeling about all the? You're a Marvel guy, right?
I'm a huge Marvel.
You're a Marvel guy, like I am too. How have you felt with all the movies that have come out recently? I am not. People are gonna flame me for this. I'm not caught up on my Marvel stuff. Yeah. I still have a couple things to watch. Thor Ragnarok. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I knew you were gonna flame me, and I have not seen Infinity Wars, obviously. So I'm going to get flamed for all of this. The last thing I saw was the last thing I watched was Black Panther. If I'm not mistaken, that's the last thing I watched, which I really enjoyed.
That was good.
You like where everything's been going in the MCU and Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah, I like the stuff they've been doing in the MCU on the big screen. Yeah. On the small one, like with the Netflix stuff, I kind of think that's played out a little bit.
And a lot of them got canceled.
Yeah, yeah. Sure. I think a lot of that stuff. I think we're gonna hit a crossroads pretty soon because I think like there's almost too much content right now.
I agree.
And it's almost like some of I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone. Inhumans didn't work.
You were into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at one time though, right?
I was really into it, but that was because they tried to make it too big because everything content wise they try to make too much of it right now, and it's getting a little bit unwieldy. And I do wonder if there's like a level of superhero fatigue coming. So
that's interesting. Yeah. I'd be intrigued to see that. You also are a huge tech guy. I always talk to this guy about. You did a lot of review stuff on the tech side. Yeah. Here's my thing with tech right now, and we've talked about this too. Sometimes I feel like in tech we might be doing too much, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just too much that's going on. Like the other day I read an article in the Washington Post about there are these robots that they're going to place in supermarkets to like. Basically, they will like move around the supermarket. They'll capture an image, and they'll see where they can then tell somebody to, hey, we need to clean up on aisle 7 or whatever. I'm like,
they're gonna turn on us.
It's a little bit much now. I mean, like sometimes I'm scared of the future.
Yeah, because they're gonna turn on us and freaking.
I mean,
kill us.
this is how Terminator happens. I'm telling you.
I'm with you.
Elon Musk said the same thing on Joe Rogan's podcast. That's when I got nervous.
This is I think that it's two things. So I feel like most of the tech that comes out now is kind of it's because they have to. So you have to release something. It's a tough cadence, right? You have to release a Madden every single year, right? Yeah. So there were a couple years in there where Madden wasn't really. It was really just a raster update, right?
Right.
And so these tech companies have to release stuff. So I think they're trying to do too much because they're running out of ways to like the marketing game. They're running out of ways to sell the same stuff, I feel like some of the stuff is super far off, But then it does feel closer.
Then you might actually think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because have you seen the dog?
Yo, I was just about to bring that up. The one jumping up the steps and then it's opening the door and walking through. And then I'm like, no, we need to kill that.
And then have you seen Black Mirror? Do you watch Black Mirror?
I love Black Mirror.
Did you ever see that? What's the episode called? Metalheads, where they had those little.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to ruin anything for anybody, but if you know about the dog, go watch the Metalheads episode, and you will understand why that's scary.
Here's what's funny: there's a tie-in with like this over-techified society. And the more tech we need, quote unquote, right? The more the lower our fitness level gets, right? Oh yeah. Because we all you increasingly like I was actually even thinking about this for like a story or whatever because you have like the amount like the level of fitness we needed to like survive, okay, has declined because like it declined massively with cars, because suddenly you just sit everywhere, and then it declined more. Like now, like I think this is ridiculous. Okay, like now, like so, you could turn a light on and off from your phone, and you can go like change. You can handle the thermostat from your phone. But I'm like, literally, you have to get up and walk 10 steps to turn the light on, and another 15 steps to change the thermostat.
Eb,
you know,
I've been saying this. The technology that seems to be created now, and I think it's the greater point of what you're saying, is it just sparks laziness.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, now, here's the thing. I want to be very careful about saying this. I do think some of this technology could definitely help people who have disabilities that could absolutely use this, right? Like, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But some of this is just pure laziness. Like you can't get up and turn on the light? Really?
Have you? And this is like the Instagram thing. It's like stunting. You know, like you look at you create like an illusion. Have you ever seen the movie? This is a good movie that you guys should watch. That it came out in like 2010 maybe. Surrogates.
No.
So with Bruce Willis, it's actually like at some point it feels like a Michael Bay film, and like 80% through the movie they just blow everything up. But the first
that's a Michael Bay film.
But the first 80% of the movie is like really cool because it's this world where tech has advanced so far that you literally just sit here and you plug into this thing and you have an android that looks just like you know, and walks around the world and does everything. So you're not actually doing anything.
Yo.
So everybody's fat?
No. And then at the end, I'm gonna mess up the end. Whatever. It's not really worth seeing because they blow everything up. But at the end, all the people come out. Like basically this whole android world gets busted up or whatever, and all the people come out of their like apartments and stuff like that. And like because Bruce Willis is in it, and so his android looks awesome, right? And he comes out and he's tore up because he hasn't done anything for a bunch of years. You know? Yeah.
You trying to say that's where we're headed?
I hope not. On Joe
but we're getting kind of lazy. Go ahead, Brian.
On Joe Rogan's last episode, he had Killer Mike on, and they were smoking weed when they were talking about this. So this may or may not have impacted.
I'm sure it
the conversation.
impacted them.
But they were talking about this virtual world that people are doing it now, where you can put something on and then sort of experience like almost another world entirely. I don't know where it is. I got to look at the episode again, but it was just.
So it's kind of like on some like Westworld stuff.
Technology is too much.
Technology, as much as I love tech, and I know we always get stuff, it kind of scares me. And it's lazy. One thing I want to ask
you. It's moving too fast.
I agree with all that. You talked about how companies are sort of basically they're selling you the same thing. You brought a Madden and that can't order at this point where they don't know what to do. Is the same thing happening with phones? Jesus. I'm holding up my phones because where are we with cell phones right now? You and I always talk about like what's better and which Samsung or iPhone, and like it seems right now like we're at this kind of stagnant point, right, where there's like not that much advancement in the cell phone technology.
Yeah, I think we're kind of flat. I think we're starting to flatline a little bit, like with it, because I mean, you hear like the stuff they're adding, because I really think they're out of stuff. So now they're adding. It's like they're touting like, oh, we have a battery that lasts a whole 2 days or whatever. Because I think they're kind of, I don't think. The speed of these gets faster every year, which is good.
Processors getting faster, right?
Which, although the funny part of that is the whole point of processing speed now is to handle all the ads and stuff like that we stuff into our websites. Mm-hmm. But the speed gets faster. But nothing else is, because I remember I feel like 1 or 2 years ago, virtual reality was kind of like the big thing, and the fact that you could use your phone, right, to kind of like as like within like a VR set, and that was like a big thing, and that didn't catch on. I think they're kind of a little bit throwing stuff at a wall, because all you really need your phone to do, and you could correct me on this, all you really need your phone to do is call, text, and internet. Okay. Yeah. However, I will say this though, the other thing too is like I do think. And this is bad because there's the physical laziness, and then there's like a level of mental laziness that's very easy to set in, because our phones can increasingly, from a hardware perspective, they're not progressing. And so what they're trying to do is progress from a software perspective. Mm-hmm. And so what I see a lot within the fitness industry is, here's this app that can tell you how to work out, or here's this app that it's not enough to run it's never enough to never run 7 miles. But it's not enough to go run a mile.
Right.
And here we're gonna tell you exactly how to run and what to think about. There's this craze called mindful running. Okay. And the whole idea, and so it'll be like an app. It'll be like a podcast or something like that, and you listen to it, and they'll tell you what to think about during your run. It's like, why can't and it's like, why can't you just be like go run? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just be, right?
Just listen to music or something.
But some of it is driven by, again, because the internet is this big content bubble it's increasingly about we're going to tell you what to think.
Yeah.
And people are more than happy to consume we're going to tell you what to think. So the easiest way to, it's like we'll tell you how to eat, how to never mind that a lot of that stuff is misguided too.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't want to think for
out.
themselves also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this becomes that. That's way too much information probably.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey man, thank you. We appreciate the time you coming on here. One thing we do on here is we have we always pick a number. It's episode 63, so we try to find an athlete whose number kind of corresponds with that. I let Brian handle all of that, and he comes up with the list. What you got this week?
Well, you didn't come at the best time because number 63 is a pretty bad list. All right, we have Brad Marchand. You remember who that is?
Nope.
Hockey player.
I knew he was a hockey player, but I don't remember.
think for
I don't remember his face.
Buffalo Sabres?
I
No.
think maybe. You might be right. And for the last episode, we actually had Carmelo Anthony and Tracy McGrady because they had career high 62 points, respectively.
Okay.
Because it was so bad that we had to create.
The list was awful.
Rafael Betancourt. You remember him?
I like that. Good setup,
pitcher,
man.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, was for the Indians for a while. A couple other places, yeah.
Ryan Madsen.
Oh, closer.
Yeah.
Phillies. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we're doing all right so far. Justin Masterson.
Oh, pitcher. Cleveland Indians starter.
That's very good memory.
Here's my choice. Dwayne Robertson.
Dwayne Robertson, the D tackle?
Yeah.
He was 63?
Yeah,
Wow. I thought he was like a 90.
Me too.
I thought so too. I don't remember wearing 63.
I looked it up. I'm gonna look it up again.
Yeah, see, I thought he's in the 90s too.
See, Google Images 63. Yeah, he's right there.
Huh.
Wow.
He was a bust. Gene Upshaw.
Gene Upshaw.
Okay.
Isn't he like an owner guy?
Isn't he like
He's
players?
a front
Was he with
office
player
guy.
associations?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. I think
But he
it's the
played.
same.
I know he
I
played.
didn't know
but
he played. Yeah. I
He
didn't know
played.
that.
Who did he play
I'm
for?
pretty
The
sure he
Colts?
He played. He's dead. What?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember you passing away. Ooh, okay.
Well, he played with the Oakland Raiders. He was two-time Super Bowl champion.
But he did work for the Players Association.
This is in the
I definitely
70s.
know that.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I didn't know he played.
Yeah, he did work with the Players Association.
Yes, he was an executive director of the NFLPA.
Okay, yeah, I knew I wasn't wrong.
So this is actually not a bad list.
This
Jeff
is-
Saturday.
Jeff Saturday, a long time
center
for the Colts.
Yeah. Dermani Dotson.
I have no idea who that is.
Oh,
neither.
the center, Pittsburgh Steelers. He was like
When?
in like the 90s.
Yeah,
He was like
yeah.
in like I feel like the Neil O'Donnell. days,
Neil,
maybe.
the Neil
And
O'Donnell.
Cordell Stewart.
Cordell
yeah.
Stewart wasn't. Oh, I thought I was like Cordell Stewart is number 63. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Oh
No,
yeah.
but I'm saying in that era.
I think he was
Cordell
that era.
Stewart was on the cover of NFL Blitz in the 90s.
Yes, he was.
And I had that game.
Cordell Stewart was my hero. I thought he'd be so much better than he wound up.
So
being.
did I.
Me too.
So did I.
Him and Cade McNown.
yeah.
He was a second round pick, by the way. Like
he was.
they took him. They took him seriously as a quarterback, but he messed everything up for the quarterbacks that came after because he was the one. I think he was like one of the first guys to like, okay, I'll do wide receiver.
Yeah, I wish he never did that. I wish he had
right.
stuck to his guns and said, I'll
Yeah.
play. Because he agreed, and that's what got the
Yeah.
name Slash and all that. So, yeah.
Mike Munchak.
No.
Roberto Garza.
Mike Munchak was offensive line
Lineman.
coach for the Titans. I think he was a former
Lineman. He
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Roberto Garza from the Bears.
Bears.
Center,
Okay.
yeah.
Center. Yeah.
Lots of centers. Lots
Lots of
offensive linemen.
centers.
Michael
Yeah.
Jordan playoff career high, 63 points, Celtics, 1986.
Okay.
And then Hersey Hawkins' college career high, 1988.
Hersey Hawkins scored 63 in
Yeah,
college?
that's why I
In
put
college.
that there.
In
I didn't
college.
know that either.
That's like
Against who?
63 in like an 80-point game.
Yeah, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
All right, so what we always have to pick somebody for this. Who we going with? We'll let you. We'll give you the first shot at this. Who would you pick that accurately represents number 6 or best represents number 63?
I might go Ryan Madsen, maybe.
Okay,
Ryan Madsen or Dermani, but you didn't know who Dermani Dawson is.
Doesn't
That
matter.
can't work. Yeah.
but Ryan Madsen.
Yeah, Ryan Madsen. We can't have a fat offensive lineman.
63 points for Hawkins. 63. I just go what you said. 63 points for Hawkins. He went to Bradley. He did that against the University of Detroit. The final score of the game was 122 to 107. This was 30 years ago.
Wow.
31 years ago.
Okay, Ryan Madsen. Okay, what's your
Yeah.
vote? What's your vote, Brian?
Probably Jeff Saturday or Dwayne Robertson.
You can't have a bust the day I'm here. That's just
Jeff Saturday was pretty good.
Jeff Saturday is.
Yeah.
He's probably going to Hall of Fame.
He probably.
I think so.
And from what I can tell, I don't think he's gone the problematic route.
I think
Yeah.
Dermani Dawson is in the Hall of Fame.
I'm gonna. You know what? Ryan Madsen was a good closer. No love for the Phillies, but I'm gonna. We haven't had a baseball guy in a while. I'll go with Ryan Manson.
The last baseball guy I think we had was Johan Santana.
Oh, Santana.
57.
Okay, 57. All right, I'll go with Ryan Manson. Yeah. Ryan Manson episode it is. All right, that's it. All right, Eb, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Obviously, our guest is Ebenezer Samuel, Men's Health Fitness Director. You can catch his stuff on menshealth.com, on Instagram as well too. And the DVD, which is New Rules of Fitness.
New Rules of Muscle.
New Rules of Muscle.
Yeah.
You got to get that
New
muscle.
Rules of Muscle.
New Rules of Muscle. Now, real quick, did you talk about any diet stuff in the DVD, or is it's just all workout stuff?
I think diet is a lot based on the person.
Yeah.
So no diet stuff in there. Although you guys can hit me up. I try to give customized diet stuff to people because I think it's personal.
That's good. Yeah. Nutrition goes hand in hand with exercise.
Like we would probably have different diets just based on our body sizes and things like that.
Body types, goals, metabolic rate.
Yep.
Okay.
Lifestyle a little bit.
Exactly.
Kind of factors in there too.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we thank you.
The best diet is the one you can stick to too.
I like that's good. Good advice to leave people with before we go. The best diet is the one you can stick to. Thank you, man. We appreciate you coming. We'll have you back at some point. All right?
Yeah,
for sure. All right, that's it for Ebenezer Samuel and Brian Fonseca, who's going to try to eat better from now on at these games.
I'm actually pretty good. For the most part, I'm pretty good. I stay away from the desserts. You got to talk to Gerard, who gets 4 cookies every dessert.
I'm going to have to talk to him about that. We can't have that.
And he still looks like he's in shape too.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make sure you guys are doing good. So for Ebenezer Samuel and Brian Fonseca, I'm Dex Henry. Until next time, y'all. Peace.